So I want to talk about bitters to boost your liver today. The whole theme of August was liver. So if you know anyone who might be interested, feel free to host a watch party or send this link afterwards. Hopefully you guys are signed up to our Facebook Live newsletter, and you can just forward that to them because all the links will be there for the YouTube. But this is something that is a super interesting topic and something that we never should stop focusing on. You know, it's never like, oh, my liver's good, I think, I can tap out. You can do years of naturopathic treatment and have a certain amount of health symptoms reversed and dig to the root level, but the liver always has to be catered to, attended to, focused on, no matter what state of health. And the higher the state of health, it could be really quite simple. You know, if you've done a deep dive into your health, then you just focus on liver, probiotics, and maybe some good fats and some B vitamins, and keep it really simple, and the rest is handled with lifestyle. But at first, when we're starting our healing journey, the inner stress, and when I say stress, people think that, I mean that lifestyle's really rushed, or they have to go from place to place, and some people resist me saying stress because they have since turned over their lifestyle and it's calm on the outside and everything's like, really like flows smooth. But I don't mean that. I mean an internal stress. So when the internal stress, internal cellular stress is higher than the body's ability to keep homeostasis or balance, then we can't override the symptoms and self-heal. We need help to lower that internal stress, cellular stress, and then the body can start to do its own healing, balancing from its own wisdom and its own internal intelligence. But until that time, we usually need help. And then when we get the person to a point where their internal cellular stress is maintained by the treatment, treated by the treatment, and then the care is carried on with lifestyle changes, which should be probably radically changed by the time you start a health journey and you end it. So you continue on with that, and then the internal stress is so lowered that the body is able to self-regulate. Now it can overtake itself. So if you visualize two bars, this is self-healing, this is internal stress. If this is too high, the body can't self-heal. So all mammals in nature are self-regulating, and we should be no different. However, we get such a state of high internal stress that self-regulating intelligence and mechanism can't kick in and begin the process, and therein starts our journey on an external reliance towards the medical system, which is incredible. So for anyone who knows me knows I love the medical system for acutes and emergencies. They have saved my life multiple times over, and medicine is real, and when it's used for what it's intended for, nothing can beat it. But the work to figure out why a person got in such an acute state is usually what the alternative medicine arena where we shine. And so, you need to rely on the external when the internal cellular stress is so high. Does that make sense to everyone? I do have a bar graph. I used to do this whole PowerPoint presentation for patients when they first came in, and it was like 24 slides. But they were so overwhelmed as it was, and I was just a new doc, and they were probably like, who is this 14-year-old trying to give me a PowerPoint presentation? So I stopped doing that. But now I do it kind of verbally. I might go back to it, and we're trying to figure out if we can create a PowerPoint presentation to send to new patients just so they know what we're working on. Because I feel like when patients know the theory, the deep theory of where we're working, compliance for a longer term health journey is so much easier, because we've been so indoctrinated to quick fixes and just I put in 2 days of my diet and I should be better. So Donna says yes. Is that in support of the PowerPoint presentation for the new patients? once we do that, I've been working at it for a while. I just can't get the proper flow. Once we do that, I will send that out to existing patients too, because I really do believe that once you know the journey, it's just so kind of comforting to relax into. I've been on this journey for years and years, and I'm still on it. And then when you see things like that PowerPoint or even our cartoon on our website, you realize like, okay, like, this is right. There's nothing wrong with me. This is okay. But so back to the point of the internal stress. When the internal stress is so high, it births the reliance on the external, and very, very few. So Rubina's online. Welcome, Rubina. When the internal stress is so high and we can't self-regulate, it births the addiction to the external and the need for a whole host of teams of people to help us with our health, which you do to a certain point. But most people don't realize that that is a means to an end, and then the means should be that it guides us back to our internal, and then we are our own self-help team. And then the external is needed at very specific points. We will go towards the external. Does that make sense to everyone? I think people don't realize that the journey loops back to ourselves, and we just keep getting stuck at the external, and then that's the be-all end-all. And that is, the end of the journey is just focusing on my doctor will help me do this, my osteopath helps me do this, my chiropractor does this, my dentist has said that, and it's just like this badge of honor that we have like 17 people helping us. And I have done that for many years, and it was absolutely necessary. But what I didn't realize is that the real doctor is here, and once that cellular internal stress is decreased, then you can become your own doctor. You get this like deep intimate relationship with your body, and we retract all those tentacles. Even podcasts, even books, all that stuff is still a leak to the external, and that just is reinforcing over and over and over again to yourself, you have no idea what's going on, you are powerless, I'm going to abandon all of your thoughts, and I'm going towards all these people who know better about my body than I do. And so then you're in this loop of self-abandonment, and it gets hard to heal. So there's this beautiful time where you have to retract the tentacles, and it's a bit scary to go within and just rely on within when we get so addicted to the external. But that time is really very pivotal to start to be like, wow, I really can rely on my homeostasis or my self-healing. But that's at the point where that internal cellular stress is dropped. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So, treating the liver, we have quite a few people popped in. I love this Saturday afternoon. I love it. Treating the liver is of utmost importance when we are talking about decreasing cellular internal stress. And the liver is a powerful organ, is the powerhouse of our body, powerhouse of our metabolism. On my last Facebook Live, I went through what I thought the liver was, and I described it as the ultimate alchemist. So whatever we take into our body that's not pure and good, it detonates it and it transforms it, so it can transform coal to gold. And whatever hormones, external toxins that we happen to ingest because of this outside world not being as clean as it was even 30, 40 years ago. There's a lot more toxins we're exposed to, and the liver is on overdrive to really detonate all this stuff. So what we get absorbed in our bloodstream into our cells is an attempt to be as pure as it can be, and whatever is detonated, it is eliminated via the bowels and the urination, and that is the job of the liver. So the liver is the most powerful organ, one of the most powerful organs. So the powerful organs are held deep in our body to protect them. So the liver is underneath the right rib cage, and underneath that is dangles the gallbladder. So the gallbladder and liver are often talked about together. They do have separate roles for sure, but they work in tandem. Now, you can't remove somebody's liver, but oftentimes if there's issues, as many of you may have experienced, and some I know on this Facebook Live have experienced, if there's issues such as stones or, sluggish bile or whatever the issue is, they can remove the gallbladder. But that is really going to affect the liver, and they don't really talk about that. In modern medicine, it's just like we got to remove the offending issue, and the result of us removing that is not of our concern because we did our job, which is their model, and that is true. But the healing still must go on, because why did that happen in the first place? Because now it can affect the liver. So you've removed the end state gallbladder, and now the liver could be even more taxed and congested. So in our society, emotions that are unprocessed, not living in our body, that fear state, not being able to feel, that anxious state that pops us into our head, that has us grasping towards the external doctors, the external health team, they know best, keeping us all locked in here. That is all part of not feeling the emotions, not processing the emotions, not getting the gold from the coal of the crap pain emotions. Painful emotions are just on the spectrum of peace. So one side of the coin is pain, and on the flip side is peace, and it's the same coin. So if you block the pain, you're also blocking the peace. And so we don't even allow our liver to process our emotions and to distill to the peace. So we block that. That can cause congested liver. Our diets being not up to par can really, really affect our liver. The foods we eat, the oils in particular that we eat, if they're highly processed oils or man-made oils, such as like vegetable-based oils, like a lot of canola, things like that. Those are man-made oils, and they can turn to trans fats and really impact our liver. So, when you see an oil, soy oil is horrific for health. Corn oil is horrific for health. So those types of oils, like when you open the lid, say if your salad dressing is made with a soy oil, if you open the lid and you have that gumminess around the outside of the lid, that's like, the rancid oil, and that's really what impacts our insides. Whereas we've been so indoctrinated with wrong dogma about animal fats such as butter, and we think of that solid butter as what actually happens in our arteries, and it creates a solid lump, and that's totally inaccurate. Animal fats or saturated fats cannot turn trans, and therefore they are extremely healthy for the body when it's a healthy sourced fat. So poor fats, eating processed foods, high levels of omega-3 foods, which is, if you ever eat a boxed food, anything in a box, if you go down that chip aisle, which, trust me, I love chips, but I portion them out and I know how to handle it, but I love chips. If you go down that chip aisle, if you go down that snack aisle, all that's in those products are unsaturated fats, omega-6. And that can cause inflammation in our body. So we should have a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 and omega-6, but our modern day food industry is very, very low in omega-3s, which is like fish oils or omega-3. That's a good question, so honey, I will answer that in 1 second, and I love that question. Is going down that chip aisle, that snack aisle, anything that's in a box is laden with omega-6 oils. And oh no, I didn't mention the answer, so nope, you're good. You're good to ask. So feel free to ask questions during the live. So Sahani was apologizing in case that I answered the question already. I didn't answer her question. I will in a second. So down that food aisle, they're laced with omega-6, and our food, in modern day food, is heavily laced with omega-6 oils, and that causes a lot of inflammation, a lot of stagnation of our liver, and it can cause a whole host of problems when the liver is stagnated. I'm talking the list I cannot even explain. Headaches, diarrhea, gas, bloating, gas, bloating, migraines, skin issues, acne, asthma, allergies, autoimmune. So the liver has to, weight gain, thyroid issues, especially thyroid issues. Most people don't know, but our thyroid hormones that are active, that need to be converted to be active to help the thyroid, are converted in the liver. So your liver has to be healthy for your overall hormonal health. We have to focus on it daily. It is a must, an absolute must. So, starting off healing, sometimes we just don't focus on the liver, but as the body kind of heals and rests into self-healing, we always still have to focus on the liver. So inflammatory foods just have a horrific effect if the liver is congested. Our external toxins, pharmaceuticals, alcohol really stagnates the liver. Over the years, less and less, I'm like loving alcohol. It doesn't feel the greatest to my body. It feels like I'm already at such a relaxed state now, it never used to be, that the alcohol doesn't help. Where most of us are living in such an unprocessed emotion, high stress state, that alcohol can take you down and put you in a relaxed state and kind of calm that monkey brain. So it's being used for a purpose, but when you heal internally and deeply, that alcohol isn't really required. And then now when I have alcohol, it's like, one glass of wine or something and I feel good. Whereas before, most people are using it for a purpose, which is a drug. So anytime you use something for a purpose or an outcome, it could be a drug. So can sugar, so can anything. Exercise can be that. If it's a need that has an outcome and you don't feel well without it. So I'm talking about the need for that glass of wine at the end of the night, every night, because the day was so stressful, and that's the reward. So alcohol can really congest the liver. Pharmaceutical drugs, if you've been on prescription drugs, I'm not saying at all to stop the prescription. That is super dangerous. I don't know what you're on or why you're on it, but you cannot change it without talking to a medical practitioner. But those drugs, you have to know, have an impact on the liver. Any external hormones, if you're on hormone replacement or birth control pill for girls, those are external hormones that our body is not making internally, and we really have to detonate them and process them. Just Wi-Fi toxins, that creates so much stress on the liver. Toxins outside in the world, whether it's pesticides, sprays, walking down the street under power lines, the exhaust from cars, all of that impacts our liver. So the liver is just non-stop. It's being really, really bombarded. Lights. So our blue lights really, really impact our hormones, and it impacts our liver. So I can't even explain the water that we drink. It really, really impacts our livers. Smoking, that really, really impacts our livers. So whatever the toxins is, it impacts our livers. So before I go on, I will answer Sohani's question. She's asking about ghee, because I talked about butter. Ghee is clarified butter, and that is my favorite oil to use, or fat to use. It is absolutely my favorite, and I love it. So yes, definitely use that. For vegans, how do you get an omega? You can use perhaps a spirulina, things like that. Can you please talk about oils and smoke points? So for this talk, I cannot talk about oils. It's just too much of a rich topic, and my focus today is for liver, so that will have to be another topic. I can't talk on the smoke points of oils today. It's just too much to get into. So I have to focus on the liver and liver herbs, otherwise we will be here for 4 hours. So yeah, thanks Sohani for asking the question, but that will have to be another topic, which you can put in a request for that, and we will do that for sure. So back to the liver. The liver is just really bombarded. So emotions, poor sleep can really, really affect our liver. When we're not sleeping, it is a huge strain on our liver, and it puts us in a constrained state. When our hormones aren't balanced, it really, really constrains our liver. You can tell by heavy, heavy periods or extremely light periods. really painful periods, excruciatingly painful periods, and then it's a vicious cycle because there's medications that are heavy medications required to treat the cramps, and so it's just this vicious cycle. And so all of balancing the body every single day, it really is helping the liver, whether you're focusing on it specifically or not. One of my mentors and my teachers along the way said that every single cell of our body is the liver. So it's true, we're made up of trillions of cells, and our liver is detoxing. Each cell is cleaning itself out and detoxing 24/7 non-stop, helping us. And so think of your liver as, yes, this powerful organ underneath the right rib cage, but every single cell of your body is a liver cell. Consider that too. So if your hair is dry and brittle, your nails are dry and brittle, you got to think like, there's something going on detox wise, and yeast infections, whatever it is, skin, acne, boils, there's something going on, and the cells are rapidly trying to detoxify and they can't do it. So we got to think, what is going on with our detoxification mechanisms? What's going on with my liver? Now, I want to talk about the process of bitters and why they help, and we're just starting to carry them in the office. Annette, our amazing office manager, has ordered them. They're not in yet. Can you reverse liver damage? Yes, the liver is supposed to be the most forgiving. So I've seen there's a point where there is cirrhosis of the liver or hardening of the liver. There's a point where it can't be reversed, but there's a point where perhaps some portions are starting to get cirrhosed, and then the healthier parts, we can reverse those. So yes, I've seen fatty liver reverse, cholesterol issues reverse. It's supposed to be the most forgiving. So yes, it can regenerate, and that's part of the herbs that I'll talk about today. So bitter herbs is what we're starting to order and carry into the clinic. Annette has ordered them, and this is a formula that I came up with in school. We dealt a lot more with tinctures in school and experimented with different herbs, and this one I just started to use, and I just read the various components and I put it all together and I started to use it. We all in school experimented with 21-day detoxes and stuff. We would do it on each other. We would do it on patients that came through the student clinic, and you could kind of create your own. And I always use this tincture throughout the whole detox. And of late, I've started to use it just every day, and it feels incredible. So I thought we need to order it in the clinic. Dr. Karen is also really kind of keen on liver herbs right now too, and bitters, and her and Dr. Vanessa just completed a 10-day detox. That was a virtual detox for everyone who signed up, and they had great results. So that whole 10-day detox is all about the liver, and so if we can use this tincture every day as like a non-negotiable part of our daily routine, that's what it's for. So that's what I'm hoping the benefit of it is for, why we'll use it, and what it will eliminate from you purchasing, because a lot of times we don't realize we're purchasing supplements because the supplements is still covering up. It's not getting to the root level, and the root is higher up the chain and it's not being addressed, and therefore you have to mask it with lots of supplements. So oftentimes I get patients off tons of supplements because they're not really getting to the root, and yes, even though it's natural, you're still not practicing root cellular terrain medicine, and it's just masking symptoms. So you'll see from what I'm talking about, these herbs, we can get to root issues and start to heal those and get rid of some things that we are including daily, that if the root was addressed, you wouldn't need them, even though they are natural supplements. So bitter herbs, the taste, so I talked about the liver last time, and the liver, in Chinese medicine, the organ systems, each organ has a different emotion to it, and each organ has a different taste sensation to it too. So it's very interesting that the emotion of the liver is anger, and the taste sensation is bitter. So anything bitter actually stimulates the liver, and you can feel it. When we include bitters in our diet, our digestion is far more complete and far more it's just more comfortable. Like it just feels comfortable. And so in our daily diet, we have veered very far off of, can kids take them too? I don't know, Christy. That's a good question. If kids really need to take them, if for Ava, I would say I'll give you a dosage of the bitter herbs that I'm going to recommend. If for Ava, I would say maybe like a quarter teaspoon. Yeah, because it's just we're veering off of our natural diet. So yeah, I would say yes. This is a good question. But just a minute, like for kids, they need like a little reminder, like a little reminder. And yes, you're right, because for kids, mostly all I do treat is liver because they don't have as complex problems generally as us adults over the years of suppressing. So yeah, she definitely could take it. So what was I saying? Yes, so we veered so far off of like a hunter-gatherer diet, and if you taste like real like grown vegetables, oftentimes there can be a bitter taste to it, and we veered so off of it that we want to be satiated with something sweet and like yummy all the time. So we veered towards more sweet and those kind of foods. And those are the foods that we're kind of veering towards because it makes us subconsciously feel safe. Somewhere along the line, we've got the message that bitter in nature means dangerous, and we've avoided it. Also because our taste buds are really just geared towards sweet. So we really eliminated a lot of bitters from our diet. And if you've ever tried arugula that's from like an organic farm or somebody's backyard, that's true arugula, it's very bitter. So to include that in your diet is incredible. That's a bitter that will start to stimulate your liver. Lemon water. A lot of people do lemon water because they think it enhances weight loss. It doesn't enhance weight loss. It stimulates the liver, and if the liver is the reason why there's backup of lymph or fat metabolism or whatever, that can kickstart your metabolism and kickstart your weight loss journey. But it's not the lemon water per se. It's that is sour and bitter. Bitter melon. I know in Chinese cuisine and Indian cuisine, there's a lot of dishes with bitter melon, and bitter melon is extremely healthy. It is very bitter. It's actually one of my favorite dishes for Indian dishes. It's very bitter, and it stimulates the liver. So old school naturopaths would say that a bitter stomach treats heart disease. So in order to keep your heart healthy, you got to keep your liver healthy, and it keeps the heart healthy, and that keeps the arteries clear. So that is something that old school naturopaths used to talk about, is that a sour stomach will keep the heart healthy. And we've eliminated out all of our sour. By sour they meant bitter, and we've eliminated all of our bitter foods. If you think about anything that comes from a box, it's not bitter. If you think of anything that get from, say, a fast food place or a dinner place, it's never bitter. So we have to consciously add bitters into our diet. Dandelion greens, you can get them for summer and add them to your salads, and those are bitter. So those are bitter foods that you can add. Kale, it really is bitter. If you really taste it, it is quite bitter. So adding some more greens into your diet is quite bitter. You have to know that all of our food is not really like the authentic, true food. It's all kind of, unless it's like, a lot of them are grown in like hot houses and things like that. Like spinach, like little baby spinach, that's not like real authentic wild spinach. It's a little bit modified, not genetically modified, but it's modified for like our consumption. Baby kale is not bitter, but real kale is bitter. Again, adding bitter melon, and sometimes you can like juice bitter melon and take those shots of those juices. I wouldn't buy it in like a powdered form. Like, you gotta do real food, we gotta get back to eating real food versus just getting everything from a capsule, because you can get bitter melon capsules. So yeah, if you can think of other bitter foods that I haven't thought about, please share them. Neem, I actually don't know. I've only used neem topically. I don't have experience with eating it, so that I don't know. But there's spices like mustard. Mustard is bitter. If you add more mustard to your foods, you know, if you crave that, a lot of times people crave coffee after a meal because coffee is bitter, and it has that like bitter digestive property. So if the food is heavy, you can crave a coffee after a meal, and sometimes it's just like you want to cap off your night, but really I think it's people are craving the bitter, which, you know, stimulates the liver. A clean coffee will also stimulate the liver in the best way possible. By clean, I mean like organic beans, you ground it fresh, you made it at home, you don't add a lot of crap to it, like it's not laden with like sugars and like syrups and this and that. A little bit of cream, that's fine, but that's like a clean coffee that can stimulate your liver. So that's another thing. So what is the digestive process? I'll try to go over this quickly and then tell you why I use these bitters. So when we eat food, we need to chew our food properly. We need to have the saliva mix with all the food, and the mechanical action of chewing is breaking down the meat tissues, the fibers of the vegetables, the fruits, whatever it is. It's starting to break down the starches. There's enzymes on our lips, enzymes in our saliva, and it's starting to mechanically break down the pieces of food. So the more completely you chew, the easier it is for your stomach. Then we swallow these bites of food. Hopefully we're eating slowly, we're not gasping a lot of air with it, we're conscious when we're eating at a slow pace, we're focused, we're not like on our computers, we're not in a fight or flight state, like running from job to job, just slamming back a wrap, we're sitting, we're eating. So all those things I've talked about in past videos, those need to be in place as well. You can't just have a stressed digestive system and use liver bitter herbs. It doesn't work like that. So it has to be a calm digestive system. You need to learn to get into that calm state, because when you're in that sympathetic fight or flight state, your day is just like, oh my God, I was barely getting through the day. You can't digest food. So the saying is you're too stressed to digest, and that is absolutely true. And no matter what the amount of bitters you do, you have to be relaxed. And I don't mean like, you know, going to this meditative state. You have to be present with your food. You have to know what you're eating and taste it and be present with it. So you're chewing, you're breaking down the mechanical aspects of food, or the mechanical chewing is breaking down the larger chunks of food. You swallow the food, and then when the food hits your stomach should have a natural level of stomach acid, and that stomach acid breaks down further these particles of food. So we want to really break it down, pulverize it into like what's called a bolus of food. So as it's being mixed with the stomach acid, it is breaking down further and further and further and liquefying and becoming very acidic. So as the stomach is acidic with its stomach acid and mixing with their food, as soon as that acid level is there, this esophageal sphincter will close. The stomach at the bottom, where the duodenal sphincter will close, and it will become this whole container where our stomach is doing its thing. It's breaking down the food. It's becoming very acidic. When that acidic trigger hits, we can actually absorb minerals from the food. We can absorb iron, we can absorb calcium, we can absorb magnesium, we can absorb all our minerals, because our minerals need an acidic environment to absorb. Also, intrinsic factor will be released when the stomach is acidic, and that's how we can absorb B12. So when the intrinsic factor is released because of this acidity. So we need an acidic stomach. I think I've done a Facebook Live on stomach acid, but these stomach acid suppressing medications are horrific for health. If you're on them short term, sure, but long term, it is horrific. So right now, I've already described the huge benefits of acid levels in our stomach. And if there's heartburn and things like that, there's something else going on. It's not just because of the stomach acid. So that's for another talk. I can't go into that right now because it's just too deep, and I think I've already done a Facebook Live on it. So have a look past, it might be in March or something like that when we first started, because that's a big topic for me. I talk about it all the time. So this stomach needs to be acidic. The reason why this food bolus needs to be acidic is because as it enters our small intestine, when it enters our small intestine, that acidic bolus of food will now trigger our pancreas to release digestive enzymes. So as it's releasing digestive enzymes, we can break down proteins and carbohydrates and fats efficiently. So we can break them down efficiently. So now if we don't have that acidic level that we need in our stomach, and this bolus of food is still going to go into our gut, the pancreas is not releasing the sufficient natural amount of enzymes, and you're not breaking down your food properly, so it's not being fully broken down. And then you have these larger food molecules and particles that's entering our gut, and now your bacteria in your gut is trying to break down these larger molecules, and it can't do it, and it causes a lot of gas, a lot of bloating, and a distressed digestive system. And then what will a person do? They won't change the bitterness of their diet, they won't change the stomach acid, they won't change their relaxation life habits, and then they'll buy digestive enzymes. So if that is natural, you are mistaken. That is purely the medical model, and I've done a Facebook Live on this, on people using supplements under the guise of a medical model, which I am totally anti. So if you think that this is natural, you are absolutely mistaken with your theory. You are taking the medical model and applying it with natural supplements. So nowhere is there looking at the breakdown of why you need digestive enzymes, and you're popping in digestive enzymes because this whole web of events before getting to that bolus of food in the gut is not addressed, and now you have to have digestive enzymes and whatever else to calm your bloating, whatever herbs that's been online, whatever herbs have been on like Dr. Oz, whatever it is, you're buying those to calm your digestive upset. And now you have to have probiotics, which I would say you would have to do daily anyways, but you have to in order to calm this distress. And so now your gut is totally in stress. Does that make sense, everyone? How we ourselves are trying to heal naturally, and when you self-treat, you are using always the medical model just to replace what naturally is not occurring. So Jatinder giving a thumbs up, it makes sense to her. So what we want to happen is none of that. We want all of our digestion to be relaxed, calm, we're present with our food, stomach acid is good, and when the bolus of food gets into our gut, we are, our enzymes are high, and then the process of digesting food can occur as it normally would. When we are using bitters, it enhances this entire process. When you're using bitters, you are, totally makes sense, right? Yeah, it totally makes sense. When we're, like, look at the health food store aisle. When you go to the health food store aisle under digestion, let's say this whole process occurred again and somebody tells you, you should take peppermint tea. You should use an essential oil of lavender. And none of the actual physiology is being addressed, and you are using these natural products as a supplement to imbalanced physiology. What is that? That is the medical model. So that has nothing to do with natural medicine. You're not being safer because you're using something natural. Is acidic levels and enzymes addressed in your master metabolism? Of course, yes. I talk all about digestion and master your metabolism. I go pretty deep into it. So yeah, that you know, you have to have your digestion from day one. We talk about not even food. We talk about how to eat, not what to eat. I do a whole dedicated module on how to eat because nobody tells you about how to eat. They go straight to the food. And supplements. People love selling supplements. Supplements are like a huge industry. And why do you think pharmaceutical companies are buying supplements? Because now they know if they lose traction with the pharmaceuticals, they can just buy the supplement companies. So some of our favorite brands are being bought out by pharmaceutical companies because they know that people are going to do what they're going to do and they're not actually getting better, so might as well purchase these companies too. So don't be deceived that you're doing something for your health when you are just using the medical model by plopping in now peppermint tea. Now you're popping into like a essential oil of lavender or a lemon balm for the stomach to help a distressed stomach. There's far more physiology underneath that has not been addressed in order to need the peppermint tea. So there's way more to it. So it starts with the liver enzymes, the liver being stimulated. When you do something bitter, when you take something bitter, even when you smell something bitter, what happens? You start to salivate. So your saliva enhances, your stomach acid levels enhance, and the liver is starting to flow better. And when you flow better, the bile is released, the liver enzymes are, the bile is released, and the stimulation of that enhances the elimination of toxins, which is via bowel movements and urination. So that's basically the premise of a small little synopsis of what we want to do to enhance your digestion. We need to have a bitter acidic stomach and bitter liver. So in the liver tincture, what I use is I do a mixture of dandelion root. So dandelion, you can get dandelion greens, as I mentioned, and put it in your salad for summer. That is a great way to add in bitters. You can get dandelion tea, so that has to be a high quality tea. I like medicinal herbals, traditional medicinals. You can get it at London Drugs. They have a good price there. Other places have really pricey, but London Drugs has it, and you can get the liver detox tea there. Sorry, not liver, dandelion tea there. You need 2 tea bags per cup, and it's very bitter, but these herbs are more extracted for their active ingredients to stimulate the liver. So I added dandelion to the tincture because it's bitter, it's very stimulating. We're using dandelion roots because there is more minerals in dandelion roots. So as you're using a liver tincture, you're also getting more minerals. So you're getting minerals more absorbed because your stomach acid is enhanced, and also because it's actually in the tincture too. That's one of the key ingredients. The second one is one of my favorite. It's called gentian. I think it's the root. The gentian root is so bitter. It's mixed with the other bitter herbs, which kind of takes the edge off a little bit. But the reason why I added this and mixed it is because it's so bitter and it works so deeply on stimulating the liver. So that's part of the mixture. Then I added silymarin. So that is what is most commonly known as a liver herb. I think most people would know of dandelion, and then they'll know of milk thistle. So often people know of milk thistle because they're told to take it. It's just good for the liver. They don't know why. A lot of people are told to take it with drinking, and that actually does have a wise kind of logic to it, because when you drink heavily, you're congesting the liver, and then the milk thistle is supposed to help the stimulation and to eliminate toxins from the liver, and the congestion will be eased from having so much alcohol running through the liver. But milk thistle actually has, in addition to the gentian and the dandelion root, milk thistle has regenerative properties. So that's where we can help facilitate the healing of the cells of the liver. It can help regenerate the liver. So I always want to include the milk thistle or silymarin. Marianus or Cardus Marianus. Yeah, that's the Latin word. So those are like the three big ones. And then I add to it chelidonium. So chelidonium is a herb that helps move our lymph. So our lymph, our gallbladder, and our liver are very much connected. When our liver is congested, our lymph nodes are congested, and our immune system is compromised. So if you want to have an immune boost, and especially going into this winter, which is going to be an unprecedented winter of like what's what virus is what, we need to have liver herbs. And I included chelidonium because it moves the lymph. So whenever somebody's lymph is congested, we have a lot of lymph nodes here, a lot of lymph nodes under the our underarms, a lot of lymph nodes in our pelvis, and in our gut is probably 80% of our lymph nodes. When those are congested, it is always because the hormonal system is off and the liver is off. So we gotta treat the liver, and then the lymph will start to flow. So it's not just you can start taking lymph herbs, you gotta treat the liver. Liver is always congested when the lymph is backed up. So when a person's sick, treat the liver. When the person is having fevers, support the liver. When there's lymph that is totally flared, support the liver. So the chelidonium I've added into the herbal tincture is to move the lymph while we're supporting the liver. Then I've also added hydrastis, which is antimicrobial, antiviral. So every time you treat the liver, there's no viruses in the liver, but in the gut there can be virus, bacteria, parasites, pathogens, all that are in the gut from an unhealthy gut, an unhealthy cellular terrain of the gut, years and years of not treating the gut, poor immune system, lowered immunity, poor quality diet, years of constipation, years and years of constipation, not moving the bowels efficiently. And then you can obviously, when you have water that's still, you have stuff growing in this water. It's not like a river that's flowing that's super clean. So when the gut has a backup in it, and for years it's been compromised, leaky, inflamed, poor diet, lots of pharmaceuticals, trauma, which is usually held in the gut. When there's trauma there'll be an overload of stuff in the gut. So I always added antimicrobial because as we're moving the liver and then subsequently the bowels and the urination, we want to heal the gut and also kill whatever is residing in there because nothing's been moving. So there's an antimicrobial of hydrastis, also to help the immune system. Then I add in Althea officinalis, which is a marshmallow, and it's very soothing. So you have stimulating, killing microbials, and then we want something soothing. So Althea is very soothing to the gut. It has a mucilaginous effect, a calming effect, anti-inflammatory effect. It's like a soothing balm for the gut. So I added that in there too. And that is just to kind of round out the whole tincture, which is very strong and very powerful. And it just kind of calms the whole gut. So that is the mixture. And what I usually recommend is 1 teaspoon in the morning and 1 teaspoon in the evening. It can be right before breakfast and it can be right before dinner, but it can be before sleep as well. And if it's for a child, I don't know if Christy's still on, but it could be like 1/4 teaspoon. Kids don't need much reminder. They could just even like have a drop and it reminds their body of what to do and what to move and how to use it. So you can be kind of creative with kids because they're just so you need a little prompt and then their body responds so profoundly. So you could sometimes even do it like a homeopathic is a small dose, and you could give them 1 drop and their body will remember, or just like 1/4 teaspoon and a little bit of water, and that would be incredible, especially if there's like, just a little bit of digestive backup, gas, bloating, whatever, on the cusp of hormone transitions. It would be so good. So I think that is an awesome idea. Those are all safe herbs. I wouldn't use it for a baby. Their pH of their digestion is totally different. Do not use this for a baby or a toddler. I'm talking about, let's say, 5 years old and up. Like if they're in kindergarten and up, maybe we could do 1/4 teaspoon in a little bit of water for them. But for babies, toddlers, no, please do not. I do not recommend that. their digestion is totally different. They do not need liver stimulating herbs. So why we're doing this is one of the main reasons is to eliminate the gas, reduce the bloating, to really have a flatter tummy, because when you have an inflamed tummy, it's usually because of gas, bloating, inflammation. And the main reason is to have an efficient, complete bowel movement. So it should be long, no broken pieces, not broken upon entering into the toilet, no constipation, meaning missing 2, 3, 5 days of bowel movements a day. It should be one bowel movement per day, complete and well formed. So that is one of the hugest premises of doing the liver tincture, and that will occur when the stomach acid is at its proper level, when the acidic bolus of food, acidic chyme, gets into the gut, and the enzymes are released at their peak level, and you're breaking down food properly. And then there's a liver herbs that stimulate the transition time that should be, within like a day of eating the food. It should be out, and that's what the liver herbs are helping with. It will get the food, the waste out in a healthy manner. It won't be diarrhea. It won't be broken stool that splatters everywhere every morning. It shouldn't be constipation. It should be a well-formed bowel movement in minimal once a day. If you can get up to 2 times a day, that is ideal. But that is the purpose of this tincture. And many traditional cultures, their focus on health is the bowels. Like if you're moving the bowels every single day, you are in peak health. But that was back when there wasn't that much electricity, there wasn't that much pollution, food is grown in the backyard, animals are giving milk that is raw, right from your backyard, things like that. That was a different time, but that was the focus, is elimination of toxins. And that is the premise of my treatment philosophy too, is the drainage philosophy is to make your emunctories efficient. So emunctories are your routes of elimination. So the forefathers of this way of treating the cellular terrain were also the same. They're like, if you can get the toxins out of the body via these 4 methods, the body will start to self-regulate. So the 4 emunctories, or routes of eliminations of getting toxins out, is bowels, urination, breath, and perspiration. So this liver tincture really gets 2 of those under its belt. The goal is to stimulate the liver, make sure that bowel is efficiently moving and eliminating toxins, detonating these bombs, turning that coal to gold, and getting what's not needed out of the body and absorbing what is needed for the body. With this help with eczema in kids, eczema is difficult because there's so much going on. I think eczema is very much a nervous system issue, a diet issue, a gut issue. And that's a good question, because it reminds me of when a person is overly stressed, you have to be very careful, because when you give them liver treatment, their nervous system is too stressed to even digest, to detox, and there will be detox side effects like headaches, fatigue, crashing, being in bed, things like that, because the body's starting to eliminate toxins, and it can't get them out because the nervous system's too stressed. So sometimes I would say when there's eczema for kids, I wouldn't treat it on my own. I would go see someone for it. And eventually when you get that nervous system calmer, then yes, put in the bitter herbs. So that's a good caution if anyone is really in a high stress trauma state. The liver herbs is probably not the best idea. Like I said, this might be for someone who's done a lot of work, and now they're just maintaining, and they want to keep their hormones regulated, their gut regulated, their immune system revving high. A liver tincture is a great idea. But when you're starting your treatment and you're just treating the liver, it's not deep enough. There needs to be a lot of work done before it can just be the liver. So I recognize many patients on here. So Eugenia is watching. Welcome, Eugenia. Hope you're having a good summer. A few patients on here I know their health history, and they've been through quite the journey. For the ones I know, they could add in the liver tincture for sure. But someone just starting and not having done any work, that's not what I'm really referring to. Is you can just do liver tincture and be well. This is like a maintenance, like what I talked about at the very beginning. There's a few things I think people should do after they're in their health journey and they're back from the external doctor going towards self, and being a self doctor, self-regulating, is liver tinctures, probiotics, B vitamins, and maybe a few nutraceutical supplements that's specific to that person. But starting off by treating yourself with liver herbs, that's not what this intention of these herbs are for this topic. Liver herbs are strong, they're powerful, and the goal is to keep the emunctories open, the routes of elimination open, as you've done so much work to help yourself, and this is a way to really keep it going. So the key benefit is just really complete bowels, and your liver is moving. There's a difference in mood, a difference in ease of life, a difference of flow, a difference in that constraint where you're like have to have everything a certain way. There's just like an ease of it. You know, things will get done, but they don't have to be like this, or I feel off, or I feel, you know, it has to be my way, it has to be controlled. There's like more of an ease, more of a flow, not so much of a choppy energy. You can see a woman who needs liver herbs when there are lots of clots in their menses. There's a choppy flow, start, stop, start, stop. You can see it in their blood pressure. You can see it in their pulse sometimes. You can see it, like the classic liver sign is like Santa Claus, like, you know, really jolly and happy, but when they're mad, it's just like that boom, that red-faced anger. So from like jolly and like overly loud, overly boisterous, overly happy, and then boom, mad. So that's like a liver picture, very clear too. And that can be a woman too, obviously. It could be a kid too, for sure. Is there any questions? Does that make sense? These herbs are coming in. I think we're going to call them the liver loving herbs. We're going to have them in the office. We're going to dispense them. So they're quite powerful because they're all separate herbs, and then we're going to mix them together versus just buying a mixture, which, you know, I've seen liver mixtures in health food stores, and I've always tried them, and I was like, this doesn't really feel the same. But when you dispense them and put that combination together, it's so good. It's a total difference. So we're gonna have them soon in the clinic. If you give a call, she can put you on a wait list for it. And when they're ready, she'll just give you a call. They are tincture bottles, so they'll go through quite quickly, but yeah, it's a good little remedy just to have. And you take that daily. And I think someone wrote about bitter teas before a meal. Yeah, bitter tea before a meal is ideal. It's such a great idea to do. So that dandelion tea you can do before a meal. You can also do it after a meal. You can totally do it after a meal just to kind of settle your stomach. I do often dandelion tea at night. Sometimes I'll do it in the morning. Donna says, can't wait to try them. Yeah, it's really good. They're awesome. We did buy a tester, and then COVID hit, and then I used all the bottles, and I was like, don't worry. I was like, just put that on my shopping tab. And Annette's like, you used all of them. I'm like, I didn't want to dispense during COVID because it was like not a proper procedure yet. And so, yeah, right when we got them in, all the bottles, and then COVID hit, and I didn't want to dispense open herbs. So I basically used them all, but it was awesome. So I have to say, you could cycle them too. So if you've used them for a month or two, and then you want to give your body a break, and then switch to like some diet bitters, and then go back on them and off them, it's something long term. You can use it for a long time. And I always think that the body gets lazy. So yes, if you use them for like 2-3 months, give your body a break, and then maybe switch to some dandelion tea for a couple months. Maybe switch to some bitter herbs in your diet and just focus a little bit more on that. A little bit of lemon water before meals, and then go back on the herbs, because you never want your body to be lazy. If you notice, anyone knows how I treat, I always give endo remedies. They're 3 weeks and 1 week off, and then 3 weeks on. So it's like your body's like feeling like a champion. It's like, I got this. I love my life, 3 weeks on the undas, and then boom, you stop, and it's like, what happened? And it gets confused. Then you change the remedies and put them on again. So you're always trying to confuse the body because it's trying to figure out what's going on. And you don't want the body to ever get lazy. So I would recommend, Donna, if you do try this, try it for a couple months. take a break, try another bitter in that 2-month period, then go back on them. Would that make you lose weight? Would what make you lose weight? So honey, I'm assuming the tincture? The purpose of the tincture is not to lose weight, but the purpose of the tincture is to enhance the liver. If the liver being sluggish and not converting toxins, holding on to inflammation, water weight, not converting the hormones of the thyroid, if that liver tincture enhances all of that from the liver, then yeah, you could lose weight. But to say that the liver tincture makes you lose weight is incorrect. It helps the liver. And if all that stuff helping the liver revs up the metabolism, then great. Like I've seen these apple cider vinegar gummies. That's so crazy to me. Somebody made gummies from apple cider vinegar to lose weight. It is insane. Yes, the tincture. Okay, yeah. It is insane. And then I calculate, some patient brought it in, I calculate how much sugar is in these gummies in order to try to lose weight. I'm like, why don't you just take apple cider vinegar? Apple cider vinegar doesn't help you lose weight. It helps to stimulate the liver. And if that's one of the issues backing up weight, then it will help your body get into that state to enhance your metabolism. But you can't say it's for weight loss. And to put it in a gummy with all that sugar is crazy to me. Just have the bitter. You need the taste. You can't take like something for the liver and avoid the bitter. The bitter is the healing. So if you take something in a herb form, sometimes like, sorry, not a herb form, but a sweet form, it's not going to get that bitter stimulus. You need that bitter. Even when you smell the apple cider vinegar bottle, it stimulates your saliva and you start to salivate, and that starts to stimulate your liver. Do cold showers stimulate the liver? Yes, I believe so, completely. So that jump from hot to cold, I believe that they stimulate the liver for sure. Yes, yes, yes. I wouldn't do them during period. I would miss that during the menstrual cycle. And if there's heart issues, maybe don't do them because your nervous system's not ready for it. But if someone's healthy, otherwise, all clear to go. I think definitely, yes, the liver is stimulated by cold showers. Also, I've done a Facebook Live on this, but the castor oil packs totally stimulate the livers. So Donna, if you try the liver tincture, you could do maybe 2 months of the tincture, 2 months of castor oil packs, go back on and off, so you can do that. Like I said, I'm not a fan of doing something long term, so your body gets super lazy. Just always kind of keep it on its toes. So eating sweet veg and a bitter veg, I'm not saying to combine food, like you can't have sweet potato and bitter melon. No, I'm not saying that. But eating the bitter melon will stimulate your digestion in the same meal. No, I'm not saying to separate your bitter veggies. No, you can have it all together for sure. Any other questions? Anything else? Does that make sense, you guys, about liver tincture? And how we can override our use supplements as the medical model, which not good. I don't like that. You're not helping anything. It totally pisses me off. Not the people, but the premise of it totally pisses me off. Sounds great, Donna says. Anything else? Any other questions? Yeah, you'd be shocked as to how many people take stuff and they're using it under the medical model of one-stop shop bullet cure versus getting to the root level of the cellular terrain. I don't like it at all. So Honey says, okay, thanks. Awesome talk. Awesome. I love that. I hope it was super helpful. Anything else? Anything else? So in the midst of us getting the tincture, you could so Tinder has a thank you and a heart. I'm so glad you guys tune in. I love it. I love it when you tune in. I love it when you ask questions. In the midst of us doing it, try to experiment with veggies while they're still fresh. Try to get fresh arugula is a total different experience than what comes in those boxes. Totally different. If you've ever gotten fresh arugula, it is bitter. Totally bitter compared to like those hot box arugulas, which are great. I use them too, but totally different experience. Totally different. It's bitter. Very helpful, Donna says. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Anything else? Any other questions before we sign off? And then I can turn my fan on because it's hot in my place. Anything else? Anything else? Nope, I don't see any other questions. Thanks guys for tuning in. So I'm not sure if we're gonna call it liver boost tincture, but I think it's gonna be called liver lovin' tincture. And like I recommend, I think it's gonna be 1 teaspoon twice a day. Rapini, that's really bitter. Yes. So rapini is really bitter too. That's a good one. Thank you, Sohani. That's a good one. You can get that from the farmers markets, from veggie stands. So that's a great kind of suggestion. If in the links, if you guys continue over the weekend to think of anything that's bitter, just please add it to the link, and then whoever's on this chat can experiment with it. So bitter melon, you can experiment with that. Fresh arugula, you can experiment with that. Real kale, rapini is bitter. Yeah, those are awesome. Those are awesome. Don't be afraid. It's so good. Dandelion greens, so experiment with those. And just kind of saute them, add a little bit of lemon to them if you want to, and then you have like, boom. Chard is a little bit bitter too, so you can try that too. Add a little bit of lemon to it, and then you have this like little liver lemon green side to your meal. It's awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That was super fun. Brussels sprouts are bitter. Yes, Brussels sprouts are bitter. You can add Brussels sprouts too. That's a good one. You can roast them, whatever it is. I think most of us spend a lot of time taking those bitters and adding sauces and stuff to transform the bitter. But this time, make it very clean. Just make it with a little salt, pepper, onion, and then eat it like it is so you can taste the bitter. Neem tea is so bitter, I can't take it. Interesting, Sohani. Somebody told me to take neem tea when I was a teen and having tons of acne, which is liver congestion in my case for sure. Did I take it? I think I took it and I use it topically too. So the neem tea, that makes sense. You could probably get that at Indian stores. I would probably suggest you get an organic version. Maybe the traditional medicinal herb teas will have a neem tea, but yeah, that's bitter. I can't recall it if it was bitter, but that's what was suggested to me when I had acne as a teen because my gut was so messed up. So yeah, that's a good one. Neem tea has been added to the list. I think broccoli is kind of bitter. You know, all those greens are kind of bitter. Cruciferous are kind of bitter. And just make them, prepare them so you're not masking the bitter. So you're not adding like all these sauces to take away the bitter. You just want to have it with like maybe a little bit of salt, pepper, oil, and roasted or steamed, and enjoy the bitter. That's the healing benefit of it. But so often in cooking, we're masking the bitter because again, we're so scared of it. Moringa tea. Yeah, I've had moringa powder. You're right, it is a little bit bitter. So yeah, you could do moringa tea as well, which is very healing, full of lots of minerals. So I don't know where you can get that, but yeah, moringa tea would be a good idea too. I think chicory is also bitter. Yeah. Any of those coffee substitutes, those herbal coffee substitutes are usually filled with bitter herbs too. So you could try that out. Even just simple lemon water, apple cider vinegar water, try those too. Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much. If you think of more, add them to the list. I'm sure everyone who's on this chat will totally appreciate doing a little scavenger hunt through their veggies and trying to add a few more bitters before we get our herbs or our tinctures in. And if you are interested, just call the front or email Annette and she will put you on a list. And when we get them in, I just have to give her the formula. She's going to make them all up and then we'll give you guys a call. And the dosage should be on there too. International Foods Enrichment is where you can get moringa tea. Thank you, Sohani. That's awesome. So I think that's where you can get moringa tea, is what she means. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. All right, that was a super fun masterclass. And yeah, always think about, am I using a supplement as the medical model? Because we no likey that. This is not good. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.